Welcome to On the Corner of Main Street, presented by Plaza Hotel and Casino in downtown Las Vegas. Here is Plaza CEO Jonathan Jossel, Russell Aaron, Gary Vickery, and I'm your host, Lisa Melmed. Welcome back to our second episode, not from the corner of Main Street, but from our homes. As we recorded this, we've received new guidelines from the governor of Nevada about when the plaza and the rest of Nevada might begin to reopen. We'll get to the details later, but for now, how's everybody doing?
I'm good, Lisa. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay, thank you. Jonathan, how are you?
I am doing good, guys. I'm doing good. This is not easy with the technical adjustments having to work from Zoom and Ringer and everything else, but I appreciate our commitment to getting this podcast going again, and I'm enjoying hearing your voices and staying in touch. I'm actually at the hotel right now, looking out my window. I can see Circa being built as we speak. There's still guys working on it day and night, and it's coming along nicely. It's looking good.
So let's take it back to that night that we were told that the plaza and all gaming in Nevada had to shut down.
By midnight.
We had an interesting group there that day. Jonathan, do you remember Matt Bridger's slot pool was there?
Yeah, it was surreal. So we had 6 hours to shut down, but we still had people in the building. And as you mentioned, we had a group pool there. That was probably, 20 people there. You and I went down to say hi to them at some point, and they were like, hey, this is cool. Nothing's going on here. We're just carrying on about our business. And it was surreal to put that up against, the reality of, well, we're actually shutting down the whole place in a few hours. And I remember them all. Matt had to fly back to England, I'm pretty sure. But, yeah, it was crazy. The place was reasonably busy. There were still people, and the group pool guys were a dedicated group. They were still all together playing their group pools like they do. It was fun to see.
Yeah, it was after we got the news that everything would be shut down. And I remember going down to the casino with you to say hi to Matt Bridger, like we do with all the group pools. And like half of the machines were turned off already because it takes time to turn off every single machine by midnight. And
well, actually, we had already started turning off machines because of the social distancing. You see, even though the governor had said only then, we had already started. We had a few days prior started turning off every second slot machine, which technically wasn't 6 feet anyway, but we had started turning off machines to create more spacing about a day or two earlier. Similar at table games, we had taken out chairs to only leave 3 chairs at a table
instead of 5.
And obviously, we had already told employees that were in back of house positions and not front of house, basically in office positions, that they could start working from home if they wanted to or weren't comfortable. We had already taken some steps, but you're right. We still had a lot of machines to turn off, and the bulk of them. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, the machine that Matt Bridger and the group wanted to play on was already one of the ones that was turned off.
Yeah.
So we had to get it turned back on for them and turn off the one next to it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
But I remember that feeling. It's just like so wild and so unknown. We had no idea what was happening. Everyone there for the group pool was saying how much they loved the plaza and love you, Jonathan. And it was like, is this the last time any of this is ever going to happen? Who knows? We had no idea what the future was going to look like then. I don't know if we still have really any idea of what it will look like, but it seems more normal now. So maybe it's just more comfortable because we've been...
This is normal, doing podcasts over Zoom?
Well, a little bit for me, but I worked from home for a while, but for many others, I imagine it's not, as normal. It's different. You're doing things, communicating through, instead of being there, shaking hands, it's just like being across from each other at a table. It's just a larger distance, And
it's been a month and a half of being at home and not working, going into the plaza every day. And at first it was like, it felt scary and not normal. Now it just, because it's happened every single day since then, it just feels a little more normal.
So I think for like your positions and working from home, that's one thing. But I think if you're coming down to the hotel each day and you're still seeing all the machines dark and the place that just to me can't be normal, because I mean that's just not normal. It's hard to see the place in this condition, but I get working from home certainly could be the new normal in many industries, and I think there'll be a lot of changes to Zoom calls. Somebody even suggested maybe we should do Zoom calls even in the office, so we don't have to all go in the boardroom. We can just sit at our desks and do Zoom calls.
Be a lot of echoing.
It's an option.
It's an option.
But Issa, going back to the night, what's funny is, nothing about this is funny, but what's interesting is that when the governor made that mandate, there was a bunch of us here in the office we talked about on the last episode, and we said, well, the casino was still open and we had to stay here till at least midnight to get the place shut down. So we all went to Oscar's for dinner, and there was like 3 people left in the place at that point. And I remember there was probably a decent sized group of us that went in there and just said, we might as well order as much as we can, because who knows when we're going to be able to reopen and use some of this product. So we all had a few drinks and a nice meal. There was, I don't know, what would you say? There was probably 10 of us that hung out till a little later in the night to help close down. And
you gave a nice speech.
I gave a speech, and like you said, I was speaking completely out of turn because we don't know what the future holds, and we don't know when it will, get back to what it was. But I definitely thanked everyone for being there, sticking together, and helping to navigate through this crazy time. Because keep in mind, like I said, we had already started preparing for this. It wasn't like this came out of nowhere. I mean, this was already going on, and we had already taken steps as if, whether it was a full shutdown or just, reduced operations, we knew something was coming.
And then that night, we're also going back and forth, working on the message or the statement that we were putting out there to say and to share with guests and people of like what we were doing, when we would accept reservations again. I think everyone said April.
Well, the governor said April 17 was the date.
Right.
I think we all, I don't want to say we all thought something different, but April 17 was always a little optimistic. And obviously that then got extended, but we were saying it will be back on April 17th, because that's what the governor's guidelines had said. I do like what we put on the marquee, doors closed, hearts open.
Yeah.
I think it reflects the mood of the city very well at this point. But yeah, we had that statement go out, and we all planned for what we thought was going to be possible, but I don't think anyone truly believed April the 17th was a realistic reopening date for the hotels and casinos. But the next part of that was obviously the next day we had as well the hotel shut down, which I think you came in, didn't you, to help out, and Gary was here. There was a decent group of people that went door by door to check every single room was empty, and we were ready to shut down the building fully. We didn't want anyone getting stuck asleep in the rooms and the buildings locked down with them in it.
Yeah, don't think I will ever forget that, because as we were checking each of the rooms, we divided up into groups of 2 or 3 and then divided the floors between each group.
Wow.
And the elevators were getting turned off at that time too. So we're like waiting for the elevators, going room to room, making sure no one's in there, opening each door. It's kind of creepy opening every door to see, making sure no one's in there hiding.
And you don't know what you're going to find inside there.
Don't know what you're going to find inside there. The only thing you could say is that it probably made us all come closer together and just work together.
Yeah, we we talked about in the last episode, but that's kind of what happens here at the Plaza. It's like a little family, and that's what we do. We all figure it out.
I remember, Lisa, you and I worked together in marketing, and when they came to us and said, we're going to work from home, we have to start installing software to be able to remote in and stuff. Even that was a scramble with trying to, did we have updated software? Do we have to install something? Everybody's computer's got to do it now. Like that took a little bit of time as well.
Yeah.
So you guys we did this once where we changed all the sheets out of the rooms and we went, room by room and stuff like that. But you're saying you guys went to every floor, knocked on the door, opened, and, hey, if you guys are here, what was that message? We were just saying, please gather your things as quickly as possible? Or
I mean, all the rooms were empty at that point, so I don't know what we would have said if someone was still in there.
When you knocked, were you like, housekeeping?
Yeah, we're like, what did we say? I think we said,
You did that to every room in the hotel.
Yeah, and then we
Put that on your resume.
to every room to check the bathrooms. I don't know what we were thinking. I don't know if we thought people would be, I don't know, hiding in the bathroom or something, but
yeah, sure.
Well, it's just a security measure just to make sure we're not,
of course,
there's no surprises besides you're closing down the building. So we wanted to make sure everyone got out and the building was truly empty.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I would have started my YouTube channel, 24 hours in the plaza, like they do that all the time.
Yeah. And I remember Esme, I went with Esme, the director of casino marketing, and she remembered doing that exact same operation when the plaza closed down in 2011 for the remodel. Yeah.
It's not to use a term, it's not our first rodeo. For some of us, but this is definitely a first in this environment and for these reasons. So I think, Lisa, we did cover that though in the last episode. I think we wanted today to address a few questions from our loyal
thank
fans
you
on social media.
Yeah, thank you for submitting your questions. We are going to try our best to answer all of them, and we appreciate you submitting them. So let's just get started.
I did get a funny comment. Somebody wrote to me, "Damn, it's nice you take all these questions, but I bet you just dodge the hard ones." So let's not dodge the hard ones. Let's do our best to answer whatever we can.
Let's do it. Okay, Michelle R has the question I think we're all wondering: when are you reopening?
So that's a great question. Do you know the answer, Lisa?
I know what we are hoping for, but I think it depends.
I think the incredible situation that we find ourselves in, it does change on a fairly regular basis. If I had my choice, I think we'd open May 29th at this point. That's what we're sort of tentatively holding to. But of course, it's out of our control in terms of whether the governor extends it, whether the safety requirements just demand that we don't open by then. And then there's a bigger problem or a bigger consideration, which is if you reopen but there's no timeline given for reopening, then how do people book trips? How do people plan? People can't just get here. So if you're in another state and you're planning to come here, but there's no knowledge of whether you're going to be open or not, how do you book a trip in advance of that? So there is a problem of sort of building up this. Everyone believes there's this pent-up demand for Vegas and people want to get here. We do get a lot of messages to that effect, but I think you got to give people a couple of weeks to plan that, to get out of their routine right now, which is staying at home, and get to Vegas. So unless we get more clarity in the next, I would say, 7 to 10 days, it's possible we don't make that date. But right now, May 29th is our date. We do have a Super Bingo event, which is in June, and we'd like to make that. We had a very interesting meeting yesterday about all the safety precautions we will be taking for that event, and we feel pretty well prepared for it. So if we're able to open, and if the market looks like from a safety perspective, but also from a demand perspective, that it's okay, we will open on May the 29th.
That Super Bingo comment leads us into our next question. Chuck S asked if will Bingo and Hash House be open with the plaza reopening?
That's a very good question on Hash House, because we don't own Hash House. The plaza doesn't own Hash House. It's a third party. So we don't know for sure that they're going to reopen. I suspect they will. We've talked to them a few times, and they obviously have a bunch of other restaurants throughout the state. I think they will open with us. Right now, we're looking at all of our plans. So Bingo is intended to reopen, not just for Super Bingo, but the regular Bingo game. Again, we have all social distancing and safety measures in line for Bingo. I think we might be the only Bingo game in the city that will reopen on that date, which would be good for locals that are desperate to get back out to playing Bingo. But again, that's very, very fluid and it's changing regularly. So right now, Hash House and Bingo will reopen.
With this plan for Super Bingo and for Bingo, I know a team got together to talk about the social distancing and safety of it. And you had to submit this to the governor?
No, we haven't submitted it to the governor yet. Probably before we reopen, we will submit the plan to the governor just so he's aware of it, and to the Gaming Control Board, both of them, just so they know what we're doing. I don't think that either of them will be mandating what we do. I think they'll be more, wanting to know that we're taking all the necessary precautions. Of course, you see what the Wynn and Las Vegas Sands, Venetian and Palazzo have said they're going to do. A lot of these things are for show more than practically going to help people. And I do think that we talked about sort of, for example, taking temperatures of people when they come into bingo.
Right. And
that's a great idea. Where we're caught up is, well, how do you do that? Sorry, not how do you do that, but when you do that, if somebody does have a temperature, what do you do with them now? Because we're not medical experts.
Right.
And so we're now looking at partnering with a medical company that can not only conduct the tests, but also give us a solution for
an evacuation process.
Well, evacuation's a very extreme evacuate, not evacuation, but what do we do with people once they potentially come in with a temperature? I think that has to be thought through. You can't just say, "Gee, you have a temperature, now what?" So we do want to do the temperatures, but we have to have a plan for what happens afterwards. So we are finalizing that plan, Lisa. And once we know that May the 29th will be the date for us, then we will share that plan with some more agencies to make sure that everyone's comfortable with what we intend to do. Mm-hmm. But I think to answer the question originally was, Hash House will be open, Papa Pizza will be open, the coffee bar will be open. We'll probably open at least 500 rooms. Bingo will be open. Table games.
Will the pool be open? Lori V wants to know.
How about pickleball?
Pickleball's approved. We're good to go. The pool will be open. Yes. The level of service and events at the pool, we don't know yet. That's what we're still working on that. But of course, it's going to be summer. I don't know how you open the property up without having a pool in this heat. And, it's a tough one. But right now the pool will be open. For sure, the bar will be open. Whether we have cocktail waitresses, events, and different things out there remains to be seen. The food, all of that will be something that we're looking at right now.
Christine W asks, switching it over to casino side, are Players Club points going to be honored for longer than the current 18 months?
If anybody comes in here and says my points were lost during this pandemic, we're going to get them back to them. So that's a very easy conversation to have. We're not going to take anyone's points or punish anyone as a result of this. I don't know. I think 18 months is already the extended period. So it was 12 months. We extended it to 18. But that's for tier points. And then I think if anybody says, "Gee, Jonathan," or to their host or to the Players Club, "Well, my points were taken and I couldn't get you," we're going to reinstate people's points, which we can do easily.
At CA Rants and Raves asked on Twitter, what about March offers that couldn't be redeemed? And what about April offers based on previous play, which I guess can now go to May and May offers?
Lisa, why don't you take this one?
Okay. We are going to honor your highest offer since we've been closed. So they'll still have access to whatever their highest offer was. And we're also going to be giving bonus offers for all casino players.
This is when we reopen?
Yes.
So, and that's for like the summer, or is that we're going to do that longer?
Well, I think right now the plan is for as soon as we open through August, but if our dates get pushed back, we'll probably have to re-examine which months we honor this for.
Yeah, so we've been spending a lot of time looking at not just reopening and safety-wise, but also reopening and giving people a value and a reason to get back to Vegas. So that's the casino offers you just talked about, the bonus offers, which we'll be able to give people more information on soon. And also on the hotel side, coming up with some very generous, food and beverage credits, gaming credits, and other ways to make people realize that Vegas is still a great value and get back out here.
Absolutely. At Gamblin Magoo, I like that handle.
Hey, Gambling Magoo.
Asks,
Hey, how's it going, buddy?
will there be social distancing at the video poker bars, and any ideas for plexiglass separating players from the bartenders?
Or even at slot machines and tables, right?
It could, yep.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I think we can address all of them in the same day. I know, Russ, you've been very active on Twitter and seen all those viral videos of people with plexiglass at table games, and I think slots, table games, and bars are similar in many ways, which is we're going to have increased spacing between them. So all the slot machines, and I know we're not the only ones doing this. I've talked to other casinos where any larger banks are getting turned into pods where you can create more space between the games. So no one will be sitting next to each other at the bank of slot machines. And on some banks where we couldn't turn them into pods, so for example, if there's 5 in a row, we're turning off the middle 3 and just keeping the end 2. So you're creating a lot more space between people.
Very interesting.
We're going to give everybody that comes to the hotel gloves, masks, sanitizer when they arrive, that they'll be able to use. My personal opinion with the plexiglass is it's probably not necessary at this point. And I also can imagine people investing a lot in the plexiglass and then in a couple of months throwing it all away. I mean, that seems excessive. I hope it's a couple of months, but at some point throwing it all away. And you know, it's amazing in these times how everybody shifts gears. I had a guy who runs a cafe sending me, do I want test kits for coronavirus? And I got a guy selling me masks, and the guy said to me, everyone's got access to masks and sanitizers and plexiglass and test kits. I think there has to be a level of, you know, reasonable precaution and actions. And I'm not sure that we will be doing the plexiglass here. I have seen those videos. I've had a couple of companies reach out to us with solutions, but if you're not going to do it on every single game,
sure,
then does that defeat the purpose anyway? So that's our perspective right now. That could change. I know this has just come up with the whole plexiglass thing, but right now I think masks, gloves, and spacing is our focus.
Oilers Rebuild 3 asks more on the plexiglass. How will table games be handled? If not plexiglass, what's going to happen with the chips, the money, the people, the seating, the spacing?
Well, I want to give a shout out to our cage team while I'm here, because while we've been closed these last few days, they've rotated two to three people each day have come into the cage and cleaned every single chip, roulette chip, table games, cash chips. Every single chip's been polished and cleaned, so they look beautiful. Shout out to them.
Shout out.
I think the plexiglass thing is the same for all the scenarios that we're talking about. Again, I think it's hard because you don't know how long this is going to last. You don't want to change the Vegas experience forever. There is an element of interaction and engagement that people want and need when they come to Las Vegas, and you put up plexiglass and you feel like you're in a cubicle. You're almost better off staying at home and going online gambling, which is not legal in America, but in the rest of the world. So I do feel that there's a level to it, and I'm sure some people would say, well, you have to put in plexiglass. We're not there yet. If that changes, I'll definitely update everyone. But I think, again, for the chips, you're going to have gloves, you're going to have masks, you're going to have disinfectant, sanitizer. We're talking right now about in between table game shifts, disinfecting tables, chairs, the whole area, disinfecting obviously slot machines and bar tops. So I just saw some T-shirts come in that said Plaza Clean Crew. Hold on, Jay's holding it up across the office. Plaza Clean Team. What does it say on the other side? It's a lot of this is to create the perception and optics, and we're going to have a clean team down in the casino, and we're going to do the best we can.
At Just Dovely asks, how will the slots be working with social distancing?
Jackpots everywhere.
Jackpots for you. Jackpots for you. And all hand pays.
In all seriousness, I think we've talked about this, but you know, we're going to have the spatial spacing requirements. We're going to turn more banks into pods. We're probably going to go probably turn off or remove 300 machines to create that necessary spacing. It's the only way to do it and hit those requirements. But we're working through it. I know everyone's having the same conversations. You'll see dramatically reduced slot floors, especially some of the older casinos that weren't, we redid our carpet a few, I want to say just over a year ago, 18 months ago. And a lot of the, maybe it's 2 years. Anyway, a lot of the layout we did then was to create more spacing. And one of the compliments I get often about our casino floor is how much more spacious it feels than some other properties, especially downtown on the older floors. And that's because when we relayed the carpet, we put in the walkways, we created more space. So for us, it's a little easier. So I think some properties will be talking about cutting off a lot more than 300 machines in order to create the required spacing that 6 feet requires. But again, it's going to be gloves, masks, sanitizer, regular disinfectant. Russ, one of the funny things about the plexiglass is what happens when you do hit a hand pay,
right?
And then what's going to happen when the slot manager comes to pay you out and they don't have a plexiglass to protect you from that. So there's so many interactions where
sure
you're not going to have the plexiglass, even if you have the plexiglass. So there's a degree of interaction and engagement that's going to be required. And hopefully people will get over that when they see the hand pay coming their way.
CA Rants and Raves asks, will there be a moratorium on smoking? Can you tell me definitely that the virus isn't exhaled in secondhand smoke and vapor?
Well, I can't tell you definitely anything because I'm not a medical professional. I think what, if anything has become clear in this entire 6 weeks, it's that most people don't know very much. And saying I don't know is an okay answer when you don't know. I've really grown in respect for people that have come to, I really find it amazing. Everybody reads one thing and then they think they're an expert, an epidemiologist, because they read an article one time. I think CA Ransomware should do that research, talk to the medical provider, the doctor, before they come to Vegas, and make sure they know how the virus is transmitted before they travel, to make sure they're comfortable. From my understanding, it is gloves, masks, sanitizer, and spacing is the safety measures that need to be taken. Correct. So we will be doing that. And I think it's important people know that we're hotel casino operators. We're in the tourism business, entertainment business, and we are not medical professionals. So we take the best advice we can get, and we do with it what we can. But I definitely would not go on the record telling somebody how the virus is transmitted.
Well said. Mrs. Shadowin asks, are you going to start serving drinks in glasses instead of plastic?
Well, I know Mrs. Shadowin well, and she's been asking me for glasses instead of plastic for a while now. This has nothing to do with coronavirus. She just wants
Does the virus live less long on glass?
Well, the plastic gets thrown away. Does it live on glass? Not, I assume not if you wash it well. Again, that's a technical question that I'm not qualified to answer. We have begun the process of looking at going to glass. But with the current situation, to be honest, we don't even know how the cocktail waitress process is going to work, because that is an area of interaction that I think some people aren't yet comfortable with, and that is something we're still working on. So that's more pressing right now, is figuring out how cocktail service is going to work, as opposed to switching from plastic to glass. If I could answer that question, though, I think it would have been good about 8 or 9 years ago never to have gone to plastic. It just stayed with glass that we had. But there was good reason at the time, and I think we will work on getting back to glass for Mrs. Shadowin specifically.
Something that I thought was really exciting this year was that we finally stopped automatically giving people plastic straws when they ordered drinks. If they asked for it, we would give it to them. But now I feel like with this virus, the plastic is going to come back with everyone's going to be using straws, and who knows how you'll get your drink through your mask, or if it's with a straw or
Oh,
What is it?
I had a customer send me a picture the other day. He's one of our good slot players, and he loves his cigars. He's had a mask made that has a hole for a cigar. So he had a cigar, and then his mask around the cigar. It was amazing. He
Well,
said,
how does
I can't wait to get back and smoke my cigar and play slots with my mask on. I was like, wow.
That's so funny. It's almost like a Halloween costume at that point.
Oh, can you imagine the Halloween costumes that are going to come out of this?
What are you going to dress up as a virus?
Maybe that could be very popular.
I think many people will dress up as Tony Fauci.
Ooh.
Oh, good one.
That'll be a good costume. So on the straw thing though, I did hear about people saying that they're going to be in restaurants using disposable menus. I mean, the amount of waste you're going to have on disposable menus, but that makes sense.
Yeah.
How do you give the same menu to somebody 10 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever later on?
It's almost like you should have a website and, pull that up on your phone and the menu could just live there.
That's an interesting idea, Russ. Trust the technology guy to come up with that. What if you're of a different generation and you don't bring your cell phone to dinner?
It's a option, that there's, out of everything I've understand is, we're going to have options and multiple solutions, and there's not going to be just one way to do things. We're going to have to look at things so many different ways and differently. And that's where innovation is going to come out of.
Mm-hmm. Good point. But the menu one is going to be interesting. For sure.
At John Lerner asks if the mayor will be invited to the opening of the plaza.
I'm sure that's in reference to her interview last week, or was it the week before, where she got a lot of negative pushback from that. I think even people were writing on the Oscar Steakhouse message board, in social media channels, Lisa, to you.
Mm-hmm.
Of course she'll be invited. We love her. She's a wonderful woman. She's been a dedicated servant to the city. She's done some amazing things for Las Vegas. Not just obviously her, but before she was the mayor, she was very instrumental in the city and opening up one of the best schools here. And she's an amazing woman. I think the idea that, I don't think anyone would argue that the interview wasn't a good interview. She didn't do a good job of conveying the message she was trying to convey. And of course, Anderson Cooper is a world-class journalist who took her into a place that she shouldn't have been. So I think she would probably be the first to admit that. Not that I've asked her about it, but in terms of the message she was trying to convey isn't that crazy. People share that sentiment of maybe it's time to get back to work. It doesn't mean you have to open arenas and stadiums and everything else. I think she initially was trying to say, just open the small businesses and get people back to work in a smaller scale and then ramp it up. Of course, the conversation didn't go that way, but I think she will be invited. She's a wonderful woman, and we obviously support her. But I would be lying if I didn't say that the interview wasn't a good interview, and I think she'd be the first one to say it didn't go the way she had intended, and she didn't get across the message she had intended to. But hey, I'd love to get your guys' opinion on it.
I thought, Jonathan, that the message was we have businesses that can offer services, but, they weren't deemed essential. But there are people that want to craft, and there are people that want to do things, and they wanted, like we're seeing now with curbside pickups and curbside orders. I think that was more the message that I heard was, there's essentials, and now there's people that want their businesses open, and they can come up just like you are with a 6-foot rule and a policy for this and following guidelines, and they want to get back to work and they want to have their things open too. And I think that was the message I took.
Yeah, Russ, that's a good point, actually, because a lot of people miss that. A lot of people say she didn't take responsibility and she's not knowledgeable. I think there is an important message, which is government can't dictate how the businesses are going to reopen. They don't know our businesses as well. Even the governor's speech the other day is saying the Gaming Control Board will talk about how the casinos, but ultimately the casinos are going to open the casinos. And she was trying to say that. It just didn't come across right. Private business and people like myself and other owners of casinos are going to be the ones who come up with the best safety plans, and then of course get government approval for them. But to say that the government's going to dictate how this works and looks probably isn't practical in reality. And she was trying to say that, I think.
Well, as you were saying too, earlier in this episode, that some things were for show and some things were like that. And I think the trying to have a message or say something like, I am doing all that I can, like she is doing what she can, but it's not her job to come up with the plaza's reopening and everyone's reopening. And I think, we've had conversations with her and we know that's the message. And I do think that it was mishandled and trying to be led one way, and I don't think it was fair either side.
Yeah, and also to add to that, I think that there is unfortunately for not for some reason, but this has become more political as opposed to a health problem. And now it's, well, which side are you on? Are you on the open or closed? And if you're on one side, you don't care about human life, and if you're on the other side, you don't care about business. And there's got to be a middle ground for this, and there's got to be a common understanding. And I think one thing that I've committed myself to is, if our customers don't want to come, they're not going to come, right? If they don't feel safe, they're not going to come. And then those that do want to come are going to come, and we're going to do everything we can to make sure they're safe. Just because they want to come to Vegas doesn't mean they don't care about their lives. It doesn't mean they don't care about other people's lives. So I think there is a middle ground to that. But I think for our team members, if you come to me and say, Jonathan, I'm not comfortable coming to work yet. I don't want to be in that environment yet. I want to work from home. Nobody's losing their job. You can work from home. Obviously, that's for office jobs. If you're a dealer, it's a little more tricky, and that's a different conversation. But even then, nobody will lose their job if you're not comfortable.
It's very good to hear that.
And I think we respect that some people aren't comfortable yet, and that's okay. You can come back to work when you're ready to come back to work. The challenge I have with a lot of this is this idea that, well, we shouldn't open up yet, it's too soon, is when will it change? Because I think a lot of people are saying, well, if it's too soon now, it's not because the medical system's overwhelmed. So is it that we don't have a vaccine? But this is not our area. We're not the experts in this, and this is not what we should be, unfortunately, focused on.
Interesting.
Lisa, did you have a perspective?
Yes, I'd like to add one more thing about the mayor, that I also agree with her message of needing a plan to figure out how to open Nevada and states back up. But I also agree her delivery could have been delivered in a better way. And also that she was influenced by her interviewer. But also, look, the governor announced yesterday that some small businesses are opening back up. So,
look at me now.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think the overreaction is an unfortunate part of society today, and
you also have the heat of the moment. It was so fresh on people's mind. And of course it wasn't what anybody sitting at home didn't want to hear, we don't know, or, we wanted answers, but unfortunately this is a moving piece that, we'll never lock on to.
I'm sure in summary, if she could take it back, she would. Mm-hmm. Not the message, but the delivery of it.
Sure.
That specific moment. But she's doing good, and I know Oscar's getting ready, is desperate to get back to drinking and sports betting when things reopen. He wants to come up with a big idea for how do we reopen Oscar. So if anyone has any good ideas, let's hear them.
From TD Cross 3. I had reservations starting May 7th, and I've already had to change my flights to August. Any chance I will be able to rebook with my same offer for August? And I don't know if he's talking about a casino offer or a hotel offer, but let's assume it's a hotel offer because we already spoke about casino offers.
The answer, if it's a hotel offer, I would say take us up on our new offer that you're working on, Lisa, with the team. It's going to be a better offer than they probably had. But if they, for whatever reason, just want this exact same offer, my advice to people is, hey, send me an email or write to me on Twitter, and I will make sure you get your same offer. It's something I do fairly regularly.
Nice. Message the Plaza at Plaza Las Vegas on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, or tweet Jonathan at Jonathan Jossel. Okay, so that offer is an exciting one. It's called Old School Fun is Back at the Plaza. And we're giving $25 in food and beverage credit daily and a $75 daily bingo match play and $10 free slot play, a complimentary hotel room upgrade, and early check-in and late checkout. Can we speak about what we think reopening will look like as of today? It's May 1st today. Of course, this is all subject to change, but let's talk.
May 29th is
assuming May 29th. What are some of the things that we've talked about? For example, I've been working on finding stickers to go on the floor for 6 feet of distancing between in the lines for checking in, or for the Plaza Rewards Club, or even for waiting at Pop-Up Pizza for your slice. What are some of the other things that are being talked about and worked on right now?
Well, I think, Lisa, it's going to be the one thing that we should keep in mind is, even if it's May 29th, it's going to be a dramatically reduced scale operation. We already talked about 300 or so less slot machines. We're talking about less hotel rooms being available. We're talking about a couple of restaurants not opening up, the showroom not opening up. So it's going to be a smaller scale ramp up. It's going to take time. It's going to be a slow, steady grind to get us back to where we were. But I think you got to start. You got to put your foot in the water and start somewhere. And and I think so the message is it is going to be a much reduced and yet we're still going to provide a great experience, the same Plaza experience and great service that people know us for, but it is going to take time to ramp up to full scale operations. I heard yesterday, MGM said that T-Mobile is not going to be utilized for the rest of the year.
Wow,
that's a major statement. I mean, that's basically saying we're looking at 8-9 months of.
That's not even hockey. Next season can't even go in there.
Yeah, listen, that's a good point. That's a good point. Now they're saying they'll use it for events, but behind closed doors. So maybe hockey gets played and you watch it on TV.
Oh yeah, no fans. Or something.
I think people would watch cockroaches climbing up. Could watch a race of any sort, but I think it's going to take time, and the challenge is like nobody's faced before. So it's going to take a learning curve, and I think we're taking all the precautions that we can, and I think some of the things that we talked about yesterday, which need to be flushed out before we make them official, is more of the service levels that we're going to have in place, and what do those interactions look like. The spacing is fairly easy. We have that mapped out. I think the harder things are the service levels, the level of disinfectant, when you do it, how you do it, and then I think we're looking at partnering with more experts in those fields. So whether it's getting an EMT on property for temperature screening, whether it's getting outside services for disinfectant, we have internal people that we can use for that. But if we need to partner with agencies or groups that can do it even better and know more about this than we do, then that's what we're looking to do. So I think that we will continue to evolve that plan and get people more information about how we plan to do it.
When we do reopen up, do you see this geared more towards locals? Like, we love our locals and we love our players, and do you see us like having more locals come in and then travelers will trickle in through? Like do you see that coming through your mind? And we're trying to not regain, but bring more locals into our business?
Yeah, I think downtown has, over the last couple of years, definitely shifted towards more of an out-of-market audience. It's become much more tourist-driven, much more event-driven, and I think maybe in years gone by, it was more locally focused. But you got to remember, downtown is difficult with locals because there isn't that much residential population downtown. It's not like where South Point is. It's not like where Red Rock is. It's not like where Green Valley is or Boulder Station is. There isn't the density of residential downtown yet. So we do have a good local following, particularly in our bingo games. And we will be reaching out to all of our locals to definitely try to get them back here. I did hear on the news that it's possible that Stations is actually talking about not reopening the Fiesta, the Palms, and Texas Station.
Wow.
So that there will be, well, I shouldn't say not reopening, period, just delaying that reopening when they do reopen some of their other properties. So I do think that there's a lot of conversation that's still up in the air, and who's going to open and when they're going to reopen. And I think locals that I'm talking to have definitely got pent up demand. They want to get out, maybe not necessarily stay in a hotel, but go for a drink, go play slots, go see their favorite bartender or slot attendant or host. So I think we will definitely play to the locals, especially through the summer. And then hopefully as air traffic starts to get back to normal, and hopefully conventions start to come back, tourism will trickle. But I will tell you, there's people in all over the country that have messaged to say that when we get open, whether it's June, mid-June, late June, they're coming back, and
they'll be here. Whether
it's driving, flying, they want to come back, and they're ready to come back. So I don't think we should write that off. But yes, locals definitely will be a bigger focus for us. But as I said, downtown hasn't grown in the last. Downtown's grown in the last few years tremendously because of out of market.
Yeah,
more than locals. So that is a challenge.
Interesting.
Okay, so one last question for both of you. What are you looking forward to most once things are open back up?
Russ?
Hey, I shared this on Twitter, actually. For me, it's going to be the first day clocking out, and I get to go back underneath the lights, and I'm going to, record something or take some kind of picture under our neon, or, Fred Flintstoning outside the building. I'm going to do something. That's what I'm most looking forward to is, I hang out in Oscars throughout the day, whether we walk to the restrooms or we go to a meeting, or, we're going to go check out the bingo hall or something. We walk through Oscars all the time, and I look forward to seeing all of our pictures and just, having that sentiment back.
Yeah, that's just the familiarity of coming back to the hotel and seeing people here again, whether it's our customers, our team members. It's something that we're very excited about. For me, just to see everybody here again is kind of what I'm missing the most. But on a personal level, I think any form of sport at this point would be good. If I could watch any form of sport, English soccer, NFL, basketball, ice hockey.
Live or from your house?
From my house. I'll be happy from my house. I think I don't know how they haven't put on like golf tournaments or like head-to-head things. You know what? Not NASCAR. I probably wouldn't even watch NASCAR.
Oh, come on, man!
Even in this climate, I probably wouldn't even watch that. But
I think the NBA was looking to open up in Florida, or there was even rumors that they were going to do it here in Vegas as well, and they had a plan for that. But it looks like it's doing something else. I think they're trying for sports.
Yeah, that would be, even behind closed doors, that would be nice. But I do look forward to seeing our team back here and hopefully doing it in a way that everyone's comfortable, safe, and we can still have fun. You got to remember, this is still Vegas. We still got to have fun, and we still got to give people a good experience. Otherwise, we're better off not opening up yet until we can do that.
Interesting. Hey, Lisa, are we still going to do SIP on Thursdays?
I'm going down right now for SIP.
Oh, wow.
Jay and I are going to wear our masks and talk to each other. We have Plaza branded masks that
it is Friday.
We're going to have for hotel guests and bingo players as well when we reopen. So I'll be wearing my Plaza branded mask.
Woo!
Nice. We have lots of exciting ideas planned, and we just can't wait to share them and experience them all with each one of you.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you both.
We'll do another episode soon, I hope.
Absolutely. If you have more questions, email us at podcast@plazahotelcasino.com or tweet Jonathan at Jonathan Jossel. You can also tweet the podcast's own Twitter account at @otcoms_podcast. That's OTCOMS_podcast. And follow us on Instagram and Facebook at otcoms.podcast. We'd love to hear from you about how you are coping and your plans to visit the Plaza in Las Vegas once we're open. And in the meantime, we'll be back from our homes next week. And someday soon, we'll all be back on the corner of Main Street.